शुक्लां भरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये। ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करभावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। अगजानन पद्मार्कं गजाननमहर्निशम् अनेकदन्तं भक्तानाम् एकदन्तमुपास्महे। श्रीमहागणपतये नमः। गुरवे सर्वलोकानां विषजे भवरोगिणां निधये सर्वविद्यानां श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। अस्मद्गुरुचरणारविन्दाभ्यां नमः। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं। ज्ञानानन्दमयं देवं निर्मलस्फटिकाकृतिम् आधारं सर्वविद्यानां श्रीहयग्रीवमुपास्महे। श्रीहयग्रीवमूर्तये नमः। सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणि विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा। श्रीमहासरस्वत्यै नमः। उमाकोमलहस्ताब्जसम्भावितललाटकं हिरण्यकुण्डलं वन्दे कुमारं पुष्करस्रजं। வெற்றிவேல் முருகனுக்கு ஹரஹரோஹரா. லோகவீரியம் மகாபூஜ்யம் சர்வரக்ஷாகரம் விபும் பார்வதி ஹிருதயானந்தம் சாஸ்தாரம் பிரணமாம்யகம். சுவாமியே சரணமையப்பா. வாகர்த்தாவிவ சம்பிருக்தோ வாகர்த்த பிரதிபத்தயே ஜகதः பிதரோ வந்தே பார்வதி பரமேஸ்வரோ. ஸ்ரீ பார்வதி பரமேஸ்வராभ्यां நமः. कोमलं कूजयन् वेणुं श्यामलोऽयं कुमारकः वेदवेद्यं परब्रह्मा तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। अस्मद्गुरुचरणारविन्दाभ्यां नमः। श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव। श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव। श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव। पीताम्बरं करविराजितचक्रशङ्खकौमोदकी सरसिजं करुणासमुद्रं राधासहायम् अतिसुन्दरमन्दहासं वातालयेशम् अनिशं हृदि भावयामि। कृष्णो रक्षतु मां चराचरगुरुः कृष्णं नमस्ये सदा। कृष्णेनैव सुरक्षितोऽहमसकृत् कृष्णाय दत्तं मनः। कृष्णादेव समुद्भवो मम विभो कृष्णस्य दासोऽस्म्यहं। कृष्णे भक्तिरचञ्चलास्तु भगवन् हे कृष्ण तुभ्यं नमः। श्रीगुरुवायूरप्पा शरणं नम्राणां सन्निधत्ते सततमपि पुरस्तैरणभ्यर्थितानपि आर्तान् कामानजस्रं वितरति परमानन्दसान्द्रां गतिं च। इत्थं निःशेषलभ्यो निरवधिकफलः पारिजातो हरे त्वं क्षुद्रं तं शक्रवाटी ध्रुममभिलषति व्यर्थमर्त्यव्रजोऽह्यं। श्रीगुरुवायूरप्पा शरणं श्रीभट्टपादम् अनिशं हृदि भावयामि। वंशी विभूषितकरात् नवनीरदाभात् पीताम्बरात् अरुणबिम्बफलादरोष्टात् पूर्णेन्दुसुन्दरमुखात् अरविन्दनेत्रात् कृष्णात् परं किमपि तत्त्वमहं न जाने। കൈരണ്ടും കൂപ്പി ഞാൻ വീണ്ടുമീറക്കുന്നു നീരജലോചന നിന്നോടായി. ഏതീനു മന്യനെ കുമ്പിടേണ്ട തോറും രീതിയിൽ നീ എന്നെ പാലിക്കെന്നായി. കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ ജയ കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ ജയ Krishna Hare Jaya Krishna Hare. Good morning, everyone. Okay, so I think we'll have to do the review of 44 and 45 today. Mridula ji, can you do one Dashakam, and then Kritika, can you do one?
Yes, sure. Om Sri Krishnaya Parabrahmane Namaha. Dashakam 44, Jada Karma Namakarana Varnanam. Gutham Vasudeva Gira Kartum Tre Nishkriyasya Samskaran हृद्गद होरा तत्त्वो गर्गमुनिः त्वद्गृहं विभो गतवान् नन्दोदनन्दितात्मा व्यन्दिष्टं मानयन्नमुं यमिनां मन्दस्मिदार्द्रमूर्चे त्वत्संस्कारान् विदातुमुत्सुकतिः.
The first line after the commas, brindishtam, vru sound.
Brindishtam.
Yeah.
Thank you. यदुवंशाचार्यत्वाद् सुनिभृतमिदमार्य कार्यमिति कथयन् गर्गो निर्गतपुलगः चक्रे तव साग्रजस्य नामानि कथमस्य नाम कुर्वे सहस्रनाम्नो ह्यन्यन्त नाम्नो वा इति नूनं गर्गमुनिः चक्रे तव नाम रहसि विभो कृषिधातुणकाराभ्यां सत्तानन्दात्मदां किलापि लपत जगदघर्षित्वं वा कथय दुषिः कृष्णनाम ते व्यतन्योत अन्यांश्च नामभेदान् व्याकुर्वन्नग्रजे च रामादीन् अधिमानुषानुभावं न्यगदत्वाम् अप्रकाशयन् पित्रे स्निह्यदि यस्तव पुत्रे मुह्यदि सनमायिकै पुनः शोकैः द्रुह्यदि यः सत्तु नश्येत् इत्यवदते महत्त्वमुषिवर्यः जेष्यति बहुतरदैत्यान् नेष्यति निजबन्धु लोकममलपतं श्रोष्यति सुविमलमुकीर्तिरास्येति भवद्विभूतिं ऋषिरुचे अमुनैव सर्वदुर्गं तरिदास्त कृतास्तमत्र तिष्ठध्वं हरिरेवत्यनपिलपन् इत्यादि त्वाम् अवर्णयत् स मुनिः.
Second line first word harirevetyana.
हरिरेवेत्यन्नपिलपन्.
Yeah.
Thank you. गर्गेद निर्गदेऽस्मिन् नन्दित नन्दादिनन्द्यमानस्त्वं मद्गदमुद्गदकरुणो निर्गमय श्री मरुत्पुराधीश. ओम श्री कृष्णाय परब्रह्मणे नमः.
श्री कृष्णाय परब्रह्मणे नमः. दशकं 45 बाललीला. ऐ सफल मुरारे पाणिजानुप्रसारैः किमपि पवनन् पाकान् पोषयन्तौ भवन्तौ चलितचरणकञ्जौ मञ्जुमञ्जीरसिञ्जा श्रवणकुतुकबाजौ चेरदुश्चारुवेगात् मृतुविहसन्दा उन्मिषत् नन्दवन्दौ वदनपतितकेशौ दृश्यपादाब्जदेशौ भुजकलितकरान्द व्यालकङ्गणाङ्गौ मदिमहरतमुच्चैः पश्यतां विश्वन् नृणाम् अनुसरति जनौके कौतुक व्याकुलाक्षे किमित्विकृत निनादं व्याहसन्दौ द्रवन्दौ वलितवदन पद्मं पृष्ठदो तत्तदृष्टि किमिव नविददाते कौतुकं वासुदेव.
Second line first word is kimapi. Okay.
கிமிவன் தான் இருக்கு.
இல்ல second line kimapi krita ninadam. That word.
Kimabi krita. Okay.
You said kimipi or something like that. So kimapi.
ஆமா, கிமபி. திருத கதிஷு பதந்தௌ உத்திதௌ லிப்த பங்கௌ திவி முனி பிர பங்கைஸ் சஸ்மிதம் வந்தியமானௌ திருதமத ஜனனிப்யாம் சானுகம்பம் गृहीतौ मुहुरपि परिरप्तौ प्रक्युवां चुम्बितौ च.
The first line, chinna correction. See that patantau, uttitau is correct, two different words, but then au and u comes next. You don't separate it in Sanskrit. So it becomes patanta buttitau.
Patanta uttita.
Patanta
Okay.
buttitau it becomes.
Okay.
You said patantau and uttitau, right? And the
Patantau uttitau
au
தான் இருக்கு.
and u becomes a wu.
Okay.
So patanta buttitau.
Okay. நான் திருப்பி கேட்டுட்டு மாத்திக்கிறேன்.
Okay, just correct that one word. Okay, the two words are correct, but in the two words when you put next to each other in Sanskrit, the sandhi joins, so it doesn't become, it becomes one word. So
Okay. Snutakucha paramange tarayandi bhavandam taralamati yashoda stanyada danya kapata pasupamatye muktaha sanguram te dasana mukula hrityam வீக்ஷ்ய வக்ரம் ஜஹர்ஷ ததனுச்சரணச்சாரி தாரகை சாகமாரான் நிலையததிஷு கேலான் பாலச்சாபல்யசாலி भवनशुकविलालान् वत्सकं चानुतावन् कथमपि विकृतहासैर्गोपगैर्वारिदो भूः सहितस्त्वं यत्र यत्रोपयेत् विवशपतितनेत्रास्तत्र तत्रैव कोऽप्यः विकलितगृह कृत्या विस्मृता पत्यपृत्याः मुरहरमुहुरत्यन्दाकुला नित्यमासन्
first line last word yatra yatropayato
யாத்தன்னு இருக்கு எனக்கு
just change it to yato yatra yatropayato
प्रतिनवनवनीतं गोपिका तत्तमिच्छन् कपलमुपाकयन् कोमलं क्वापि नृत्यन् सतय युवति लोकैर्अर्पितं सर्प्रसन्नन् क्वचन नवविभक्वं दुग्धमप्यापिपस्त्वं मम खलु पलिकेः याचनं जातमास्ताम् इह पुनरपलानामक्रतो नैव कुर्वे इति विहित मदि किं तेव सन्ध्यज्ञयाञ्चम् तदिकृतमहरस्त्वं चारुणाचेरणेन
last word choranena
चारुणा चोरणेन
அதே மாதிரி இந்த third line last word சந்தியஜ
யான் ஜாமன் தான் இருக்கு தமிழ்ல
YACH யாச் ஞாம் NYAM so YACH NYAM okay யாச் ஞாம்
okay तव तदिकृतमोषे कोशयोषा जनानाम् अपजदहृतिरोषो नावकाशं न शोक हृदयमभिमुषित्वा हर्षसिन्धौ न्यतास्त्वं समयरोगान् वातके हातिनाद Shri Krishna Prabhu.
Very good. And the second line on the shokah, there is a visarga, okay? End of the second line. Navakasham na shokah.
Shokah, okay.
So do you, Rajesh, do you not read 11 and 12?
No, I'm going to teach right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, we didn't, okay.
We didn't finish 11 and 12 last time, okay. So I sent it separately because some books do not have that, right? So you might have to write it down. So that's why in 10 itself, Bhattacharya is saying Samama Shamaya Rogan Vata Gehadi Nata. He's ending it off there, right? Because that normally comes at the end of every Dashakam. So I don't know what happened, why 11 and 12, was it added later? It looks like it got added later because generally Bhattacharya doesn't end, until the end, he doesn't say that. but here it is happening in 10 itself, and there's 11 and 12 which is getting added. So anyway, it doesn't matter, but we will learn it. But looks like it got added later. Okay, so first off, maybe Bhuvana, you can be a student, and Viji, you can be a student. So stanza 11. शाखाघ्रेतविधुं विलोक्य फलमित्यम्बां च तातं मुहुः सम्प्रार्थ्यात तदा तदीयवचसा प्रोत्क्षिप्तबाहौ त्वयि चित्रं देवशशीसते कर्मघात् किं भ्रूमहे सम्पतः ज्योतिर्मण्डलपूरिताखिलवपुः प्रागाभिराड्रूपताम्. So, like kind of this couple of stanzas seem to be a little disconnected from the rest of the flow of the chapter, right? The first 10 stanzas of the chapter, we saw about Krishna, kind of, Krishna, Balarama crawling, then they began to start running and how they were running everywhere. It talked about that. So this one talks that, one day, Krishna, when you were sitting along with, Nanda and Yashoda at night, so when they were eating or whatever, then you saw at the end of the branch of a tree, you actually saw the moon at night. So just like how Hanuman looked at the sun and said, looks like that is apple or mango. No, Krishna, you looked at the moon and thought it was a fruit. And then you asked your parents again and again saying that, I need that fruit. But then they tell, no, it's not a fruit, Krishna. It's actually a moon which is actually there. But you didn't care. You just threw both your arms up. And when you threw both your arms up, the moon itself came and merged into you. And then that's when the story is not in Bhagavatam at all. So that's why I'm a little not sure how this, it's got added here. But anyway, so it says you stretched your arms and the moon itself came to you. And then, your entire body was covered with that light of the moon. So Shakha Gray. So here, I think that one word is missing here when I think in the script I sent. So it should be Shakha Gray Tha. I think it doesn't have the tha in the text I sent, but you add the second tha. So Shakha Gray Tha Vidhum Vilokya, comma, Phalamityambam cha tatam muhuhu, comma, Samprartyata tada tadiya vachasa, comma, Protkshipta bahau tvayi. Shakhagreta vidhum vilokya Phalamityambam cha tatam muhuhu Samprartyata tada tadiya vachasa Protkshipta bahau tvayi.
शाखाग्रेथ विधुं विलोक्य फलमित्यम्बां च तातं मुहुः सम्प्रार्त्याथ तदा तदीयवचसा प्रोक्षिप्तबाहौ त्वयि शाखाग्रेथ विधुं विलोक्य फलमित्यम्बां च तातं मुहुः सम्प्रार्त्याथ तदा तदीयवचसा प्रोक्षिप्तबाहौ त्वयि
सागाग्रेतवितुं विलोक्य फलमित्यम्पां च तातं मुहुः सम्प्रार्त्यात तथा तदीयवचसा प्रोक्षिप्तबाहौ त्वयि शागाग्रेतवितुं विलोक्य फलमित्यम्पां च तातं मुहुः सम्प्रार्त्यात तथा तदीयवचसा प्रोक्षिप्तबाहौ त्वयि
Chitram Deva Shashi Sate Karamagat, comma, Kim Brumahe Sampataha. Some of the books may not have the Visarga. If you don't have the Visarga, add it. Sampataha, comma. Jyotir Mandala Puritakhila Vapuhu, comma. Praga Birad Rupatam. Chitram Deva Shashi Sate Karamaghat. Kim Bhrumahe Sampatah Jyotirmandalapuritakhilavapuhu Praghabhiradrupatam.
चित्रं देवशशी सते करमगात् किं ब्रूमहे सम्पतः ज्योतिर्मण्डलपूरिताखिलवपुः प्रागाविराड्रूपताम् चित्रं देवशशी सते करमगात् किं ब्रूमहे सम्पतः ज्योतिर्मण्डलपूरिताखिलवपुः प्रागाविराड्रूपताम्
चित्रं देवशशी सते करमगात् किं ब्रूमहे सम्पतः ज्योतिर्मण्डलपूरिता किल वपुः प्राकाविराट्रूपताम् चित्रं देवचची चदेकरमकात् किं ब्रूमहे सम्पतः ज्योतिर्मण्डलपूरिता किल वपुः प्राकाविराट्रूपताम्.
Stanza 12. So the tune changes again. Kim kim bhatedamiti sambhrama-bhajamenam brahmarnavekshanamamum parimajyatatam mayam punastanaya mohamayim vitanvan ananda-chinmaya jaganmaya pahi rogat. So of course, on looking at it, your father Nandagopa was amazed as to what is happening here. How can the moon itself come down and merge into your body? So as he was wondering what was happening and he was in that state of bliss just for a fraction of a second, immediately with your Maya, you brought him back to reality, and then he was just looking at you as a son. So you kind of brought him back to regular thing at that time. So that supreme consciousness, Chinmaya, so the one who is pure bliss himself. Oh Krishna, please eradicate all my ailments. Kim kim batedamiti sambhrama bhajamenam, brahmarnave kshanamamum parimajya tatam mayam punastanaya mohamayim vitanvanne, ananda chinmaya jaganmaya pahirogat. Kim kim bhatedamiti sambhrama bhajamenam brahmarnavekshanamamum parimajyatatam mayam punastanaya mohamayim vitanvanne ananda chinmaya jaganmaya pahirogat.
किं पदेदमिति सम्भ्रमभाजमेनं ब्रह्मार्णवेक्षणममुं परिमज्यतातं मायां पुनस्तनयमोहमयीं वितन्वन् आनन्दचिन्मय जगन्मय पाहि रोगात्. किं पदेदमिति सम्भ्रमभाजमेनं ब्रह्मार्णवेक्षणममुं परिमज्यतातं मायां पुनस्तनयमोहमयीं वितन्वन् आनन्दचिन्मय जगन्मय पाहि रोगात्.
किं किं पतेतमिति सम्भ्रमभाजमेनं
किं पतेतमिति सम्भ्रमभाजमेनं ब्रह्मार्णवेक्षणममुं परिमज्जयतातं मायां पुनस्तनय मोहमयीं विदन्वन् आनन्दचिन्मय जगन्मय पाहि रोगात्.
Viji, and the second line is parimajya. You said parimajjaya. There's not a full ja there. It's only a half ja. So parimajya.
Oh, parimajya. Okay.
என்னோட புக்ல 2 இஜ் போட்டிருக்கு தமிழ்ல.
Two ij, but it's not a ja. So parimajya.
Okay.
Double J.
किं पतेतमिति सम्भ्रमभाजमेनं ब्रह्मार्णवेक्षणममुं परिमज्जतातं मायां पुनस्तनय मोहमयीं विदन्वन् आनन्दचिन्मय जगन्मय पाहि रोगात्.
Shri Krishnaya Parabrahmane Namaha. We'll go on to Dasakam 46. So 46 is Vishwarupa Pradarshana Varnanam. That's 46. So stanza 1. So it's also a very small chapter. Ayi deva pura kilatvahi swayamutta shaye stanandhaye parijrambhanatopyapavrite vadane vishwamachashta vallavi. So kind of placing where we are in the story timeline, right? Because some certain things get mixed here and there. So we saw in 44, we saw how Garga Muni came in secrecy and then did the Namakaranam of Krishna and Balarama. That was what is in 44. And then in 45, we saw how Krishna and Balarama started growing up to a point where they were beginning to run around, right? They're still very small, but they're beginning to run around. So about 1 year, 1.5 years kind of age, right, at that time. And then it spoke about how, the Gopas and the Gopikas used to spend their entire time constantly monitoring Krishna and Balarama wherever they went. And then that way they used to give updates to Yashoda all the time. And even Yashoda did not complain about it because she loved hearing the stories or the activities that Krishna and Balarama were doing. And she never used to scold them. And she used to always be in the bliss, right? So that's what we saw in 44 and 45. So in 46, the first stanza of 46 actually happened before Dashakam 44. Okay, that's how it is in Bhagavatam also, just the first stanza, but in Narayaneeyam it's combined, everything is coming together. So, one day, when Krishna was still small, Krishna was lying on the lap of Yashoda drinking milk. He was having her breast milk. And at that time, when Krishna was almost finished drinking the milk, and Yashoda was, touching and caressing Krishna, looking at his face, the happy face that Krishna had because he had just finished drinking the milk. Krishna became tired. And when he became tired, he felt sleepy because he had just had the milk. At that time, he yawned. And when Krishna yawned, at that point, Yashoda quickly just looked in because Krishna is lying on her lap and the baby yawns. And then she looks, and suddenly inside Krishna's mouth, she's seeing the entire universe. So this again, like I said, happened before Dashakam 44. But so at that one time, Krishna, you did show to Yashoda in the beginning an opportunity to see the entire universe. So at that time, when Yashoda saw that the entire thing she saw in her mouth, in Krishna's mouth, suddenly, her heart starts throbbing because imagine, right? You're sitting, your baby is lying on your lap, it opens its mouth, and suddenly you're seeing all the planetary systems inside the mouth. And she thought something has happened, right? She thought something wrong has happened to her, or she thought something has gone wrong with the baby that she's actually seeing all that. And what she does is, because sometimes when you get scared, you close your eyes. That's what Yashoda ends up doing. She says something has gone wrong, and she closes her eyes. And all of a sudden, in a fraction of a second, that moment passes away. So here it says, Krishna, you Swayam on your own, you showed Yashoda this stuff. But Yashoda did not seem to notice it because she thought something was wrong and she closed her eyes. Later on, you create a circumstance, right, for her to actually see the entire universe and everything inside your mouth. So this one, you just gave a chance, but she didn't take that chance because she thought something was wrong and she ended up shutting her eyes and she could not see that clearly. So, Ai Deva Pura Kila Twayi, Swayam Uttanashaye Stanandhaye Parijrimbhanato Vyapavrite, Badane Vishwamachashta Vallavi. Ai Deva Pura Kila Twayi, Swayam Uttanashaye Stanandhaye Parijrimbhanato Vyapavrite Vadane Vishwamachashta Vallavi.
अयि देव पुरा किल त्वयि स्वयमुत्थानशये स्तनन्धये परिजृम्भणतो व्यपावृते वदने विश्वमचष्टवल्लवी. अयि देव पुरा किल त्वयि स्वयमुत्थानशये स्तनन्धये परिजृम्भणतो व्यपावृते वदने विश्वमचष्टवल्लवी.
अयि देव पुरा किल त्वयि स्वयमुत्थानचये स्तनन्तये परिजिं प्रणतो व्यवापृते वदने विश्वमसष्टवल्लवी. अयि देव पुरा किल त्वयि स्वयमुत्थानचये स्तनन्तये परिजृम्भणतो व्यवापृते वदने विश्वमसष्टवल्लवी.
Answer 2. Punarapyata bhalakai samham twahi leela nirate jagatmate phala sanchaya vanchana krudha tava mrit bhojana muchurarbhakaha. So that happened earlier. So now we kind of fast forwarding, right? When Krishna has started to run around kind of state. So one day when all the boys were all playing, so it so happened that the boys had actually stolen, along with the Gopas and Balarama, small boys. So they had actually stolen some fruits from somewhere else and they were actually keeping it. So Krishna ends up stealing that stolen fruit. So the boys, of course, get very angry. The children all rush to Yashoda and say, Yashoda, like Krishna is stealing the fruits. But Yashoda is too busy to, worry about these trivial matters and she dismisses that. So, and the boys cannot complain too much because they themselves have stolen the fruits, right? So then the Yashoda will ask a question of where did you get the fruits? So they end up saying, what, it's not going to work. And when Krishna continues to do that, they then decide, you know what, we have to kind of throw Krishna under the bus here, right? So they go and tell Yashoda that, Yashoda, you will not believe what Krishna has done. You know, this Krishna of yours is coming and eating mud, right? We cannot deal with this Krishna because, you know, he doesn't listen to us. So Krishna has eaten mud. So that's the complaint that the boys give. They say the boys are giving a wrong complaint because they cannot give the original complaint of Krishna stealing because that's not helping them, right? So that's what they end up doing here. So punarapyata balakaihi, put a is balakai samam, comma, त्वयि लीला निरते जगत्पते फल संचय वंचन क्रुधा, comma, तव मृत भोजनम ऊचुर अर्भकाः. You can break at that ma. भोजनम ऊचुर अर्भकाः. पुनरप्यत बालकैः समं त्वयि लीला निरते जगत्पते फलसञ्चय वञ्चन क्रुधा तव मृद्भोजनमूचुरर्भकाः.
पुनरप्यथ बालकैः समं त्वयि लीला निरते जगत्पते फलसञ्चयवञ्चनक्रुधा तव मृद्भोजनमूचुरर्भकाः. पुनरप्यथ बालकैः समं त्वयि लीला निरते जगत्पते फलसञ्चयवञ्चनक्रुधा तव मृद्भोजनमूचुरर्भकाः.
पुनरभ्यदबालकैः समं त्वयि लीला निरते जगत्पते फलसञ्चयवञ्चनकृता तव मृद्भोजनमूचुरर्भकाः. पुनरभ्यदबालकैः समं त्वयि लीला निरते जगत्पते फलसञ्चयवञ्चनकृता तव मृद्भोजनमूचुरर्भकाः.
That's a 3. Aite pralayavadhau vibho क्षितितो यादि समस्तभक्षिणः मृदुपाशनतो रुजा भवेत् इति भीता जननी चुकोपसा. So that caught Yashoda's attention because when they say, Yashoda, your child is eating mud from the ground. So then Yashoda immediately becomes concerned and then she immediately rushes to that spot and then she lifts Krishna to see what this boy has done. So here Bhattatripat says, Yashoda, why are you worried about Krishna eating mud? He says, when the pralayam gets over, the entire 14 worlds of the universe, including all the mud, the mountains, everything is going inside Krishna. But you, Yashoda, are getting worried about Krishna eating a handful of mud. But the part is the unnecessary worry you are having. But anyway, Yashoda doesn't know that. So as a mother, she's getting very concerned and then she immediately rushes to the spot to see what Krishna has done. So aite pralayavadhau vibho, comma, kshiti toyadi samasta bhakshinah mridu pashanato ruja bhavet. So the di that is there, we're going to break it. So first put a it, bhavet, comma. Next word starts with the e. Iti bhita janani chukopasa. Ayite pralayavadhau vibho kshitito yadi samasta bhakshinah mridupashanato ruja bhavet iti bhita janani chukopasa.
अयिते प्रलयावधौ विभो क्षितितो यादि समस्तभक्षिणः मृदुपाशनतो रुजा भवेत् इति भीता जननी चुकोपसा. अयिते प्रलयावधौ विभो क्षितितो यादि समस्तभक्षिणः मृदुपाशनतो रुजा भवेत् इति भीता जननी चुकोपसा.
आयिते प्रलयावधौ विभो क्षितितो यादि समस्तभक्षिणः मृदुपाचनतो रुजा भवेत् इति पीता जननी सुपोकसा.
Chukopasa. Last word. Chukopa.
शुकोपशा. आयिते प्रलयावधौ विभो क्षितितो यादि समस्तभक्षिणः मृदुपाचनतो रुजा भवेत् इति पीता जननी सुकोपसा.
And so forth. अयि दुर्विनयात्मकत्वया किमु मृत्सा भतवत्स भक्षिता इति मातृगिरं चिरं विभो विततां त्वं प्रतिजज्ञिषे हसन्. So when Yashoda then went and picked Krishna, she asked Krishna, Krishna, how is it that are you so restless that you've actually eaten dirt? He says, I've heard from the boys, from your friends, and including Balarama, that, you are actually eating dirt. He says, we have so much food inside the house. We have so many sweets inside the house. How can you even think of eating dirt? We have all kind of gone through this as parents, right? We sometimes look at the kids and say, I cannot even imagine you are trying to do something like this. How does it even get in your mind? Right? That's what Yashoda is thinking. Why would you go eat dirt? Like, where do you even get that idea from, right? When all of this is there. And Krishna, being a very small boy at that time, he doesn't say yes or no initially. He just laughs, right? And then he then says, Krishna says, Mother Yashoda, I did not eat any dirt. All these boys are lying. They actually are trying to just lodge a complaint against me. So they are all lying. So she said, but how about Balarama? Your own brother is telling, you are eating this. And Krishna again dismisses that. He's saying he's angry with me, he's upset with me, so he's just lying. And like a typical small boy does, Krishna laughs and says, so because sometimes when the kids try to deny something, they say no, but then you can look at their face and say that they're lying because they're smiling, right? That's what Krishna also does here. So Prati Jagnishe Hasan. So you just very smilingly tell Yashoda that, nothing, I did not eat any of these things. So all these boys are just, lying here. So Ayi Durvina Yatmaka Tvaya, Kimu Mritsa Bata Vatsa Bhakshita Iti Matrugiram Chiram Vibho, Vitatham Tvam Prati Jagnishe Hasan. Ayi Durvinayatmakatvaya Kimu Mritsa Bata Vatsa Bhakshita Iti Matrugiram Chiram Vibho Vitatam Tvam Prati Jagnishe Hasan.
अयि दुर्विनयात्मकत्वया किमु मृत्सा बत वत्स भक्षिता इति मातृगिरं चिरं विभो वितथां त्वं प्रतिजज्ञिषे हसन्. अयि दुर्विनयात्मकत्वया किमु मृत्सा बत वत्स भक्षिता इति मातृगिरं चिरं विभो वितथां त्वं प्रतिजज्ञिषे हसन्.
अयि दुर्विनयात्मकत्वया किमु मृत्सा पदवत्स पक्षिता इति मातृगिरं चिरं विभो विततां त्वं प्रतिजज्ञिषे हसन्. अयि दुर्विनयात्मकत्वया किमु मृत्सा पदवत्स पक्षिता इति मातृगिरं चिरं विभो विदतां त्वं प्रतिजज्ञिषे हसन्.
Answer, right? Aite sakalairvinishchite vimatischet vadanam vidharyatam iti matru bibhatsito mukham vikasat padmanibham vyadharayah. So Yashoda then Krishna says, Krishna, I have a feeling you are lying here. Did you eat mud or not? Krishna says, no, I'm not lying. I'm not lying. I did not eat the mud. So then Yashoda says, if you are that confident you are not eaten mud, then I want to check you open your mouth, right? So this, if you kind of remember where this conversation has happened, this is Johnny, yes, Papa, eating sugar, no, Papa, telling lies, no, Papa, open your mouth. So same thing Yashoda is doing, so that probably came out of the Krishna Yashoda conversation. So Yashoda says, I don't trust you, Krishna. I have a feeling you are lying. So you have to now open your mouth. So at this time, Krishna, who's, the Parabrahman itself, who's come here taking this incarnation to give Yashoda kind of that parental affection. She says, you don't seem to be trusting even what I say. If you don't believe, you can directly see what is inside my mouth. So he says, Krishna, your mouth, which is so small, Padmanibham, which is a small lotus petal, kind of like a mouth, you open that mouth so Yashoda can actually look inside of that. Ai te sakalair vinishchite, Bimatish ched vadanam vidharyatam iti matru bibhatsito mukham, vikasat padma nibham vyadharayah. Aite sakalair vinishchite bimatish ched vadanam vidharyatam इति मातृबिभर्त्सितो मुखं विकसत्पद्मनिभं व्यधारयः
अयि ते सकलैर्विनिश्चिते विमतिश्चेद्वदनं विदार्यताम् इति मातृविभर्त्सितो मुखं विकसत्पद्मनिभं व्यदारयः अयि ते सकलैर्विनिश्चिते विमतिश्चेद्वदनं विदार्यताम् इति मातृविभर्त्सितो मुखं विकसत्पद्मनिभं व्यदारयः
आयिते विनिच्चिते विमिदिच्चेत्वदनं विदार्यताम् इति मातृविपर्चितो मुखं विकसत्पद्मनिभं व्यदारयः आयिते सकलैर्विनिच्चिते विमिदिच्चेत्वदनं विदार्यताम् इति मातृविपर्षितो मुखं विकसत्पद्मनिभं व्यदारयः.
Viji, and the first line or second line, depending on how you have it, after the comma, bimatish ched vadanam.
Oh, विमजिच्चेत्वदनं
Bimatish ched vadanam.
विमदिच्चेत्वदनं विदार्यताम्.
Stanza 6. Ayimrallavadarshanotsukam jananim tam bahutarpayanniv prithivim nikhilam na kevalam bhuvananyapyakilanyadhidrishah. So Krishna says, you don't believe that I know that I'm not lying. If you want to see, I'll open my mouth, you can see. Because you remember in the first stanza, when Krishna just yawned, so it was like a passing thing that Yashoda quickly saw something. So Krishna says, you missed that opportunity, Yashoda. So this time I'm going to show you patiently. You take your time to examine what's inside my mouth. So Krishna opens his mouth. So, see, Krishna did not eat mud. But then what happens is he doesn't want to upset his mother, right? Because his mother is so confident that he's eaten mud because he doesn't trust what Krishna says. So Krishna has to outperform, the expectation. So he says, Krishna, not only are you showing that little mud, and this goes on for 3 stanzas, so I'll break it as it comes. He says, you show her the earth and the entire universe is now being seen inside of that. And the word that is used here is, not in that 2 words are used here, Akhilani, Nikhilani, right? So Akhilani means everything. So you're showing her everything that is actually there. And Nikhilani also means it's like nothing is left behind. So it's not like, everything means it's contained to a small area, right? You're saying everything that is here is shown, but it is like nothing is left. There's nothing that is not there inside your mouth. You pretty much show her everything that is actually there to show. So that is the one of the beauty here is, right, like this creation that is there. And then the general concept is if there's a creation, there has to be a creator. That's the logic, everybody says, right? And so they say if your kid is playing with one of those Play-Doh, so they're creating something. But the creator is your kid who's sitting outside of that Play-Doh. So the creator is sitting outside of the creation. So here what Krishna is going to show is the creation is inside the creator and the creator is also inside of the creation because Krishna is there right now. But the entire creation is going to be shown inside of Krishna as well. So that is the complexity that is going to be shown here, right, to Yashoda here. Anyway, first Krishna opens his mouth and then, she sees the world, the earth and the entire universe she begins to see right now. Api mrillava darshanotsukham, jananim tam bahu tarpayan iva prithivim nikhilam na kevalam, bhuvananyapyakilanya didrishaha. So that word, you cannot break it. You have to say the whole second half of it together. Apimrallavadarshanotsukam jananim tam bahutarpayanniva prithivim nikhilam na kevalam bhuvananyapyakilanyadidrishaha.
अपि जननीं तां बहुतर्पयन्निव पृथिवीं निखिलां न केवलं भुवनान्यप्यखिलान्यदीदृशः अपि मृल्लवदर्शनोत्सुकां जननीं तां बहुतर्पयन्निव पृथिवीं निखिलां न केवलं भुवनान्यप्यखिलान्यतीदृशः
Quick question, Rajesh, I'm so sorry to interrupt. Is it Api or IE?
Api.
Okay, thank you.
अभिमृल्लवदर्शनोत्सुकां जननीं तां बहुतर्पयन्निव पृथिवीं निखिलां न केवलं भुवनान्यप्यखिलान्यधीचृचः अभिमृल्लवदर्शनोत्सुकां जननीं तां बहुतर्पयन्निव पृथिवीं निखिलां न केवलं भुवनान्यप्यखिलान्यधीचृचः
Didrishaha. Last word.
भुवनान्यप्यखिलान्यधीचृचः यदीचृचः
Stanza 7. Kuhachidvanamambudih kvachite kvachidabhram kuhachidrasatalam manujadanujah kvachit suraha dadrushe kim na tadha tvadhanane. Now we'll zoom in and see what Yashoda is actually seeing inside Krishna's mouth. So first of all, she sees everything in this world that is moving, anything that moves, animals, humans, birds, everything, and things which don't move, which is trees, mountains, all of the immovable things as well. She sees outer space. She starts seeing what is outside of the earth. Then she sees all the directions. In the sense, it's not restricted to what is in the east or the west or north or south. All the directions, whatever is there, she's able to see that. So she begins to see inside of the earth. She sees the mountains, the islands, forest, and everything that is there inside of the earth. Then when you go outside, she begins to see the moon. She begins to see the stars. And then she starts seeing the entire planetary systems. So it says at one place, somewhere, Kwachit Abhram, some places you are seeing the upper worlds. Like we said, there are 14 worlds. So sometimes she's seeing the upper world planetary system. And some place, Kuhachit Rasatalam, in some places she's actually seeing the bottom 7 worlds which are there. Not only is she seeing things which can be seen, which are these 14 worlds and everything around that, but if you go back to how the creation happened, there is this concept of the mahat, the senses, and the mind, and all of that, and also the 3 gunas, right, which cannot be seen, but she's able to see how all of that can coexist. Because that's how creation has happened, right? All of this has to coexist. Just because we cannot see it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist as a concept, right? So she's able to visualize how all these concepts are there. She's able to see how all the gunas are responsible for driving all this. She's seeing how intelligence has to be there for creation to happen. And then she's seeing, that the karma, like all the actions that people do, how is it influencing the destiny? So she's able to visualize all of this. So typically people say, she only saw things, right? It's not just seeing it, but it is also understanding how the entire universe actually works, how creation is happening, how the entire universe is being sustained, and how karma drives everything. So she's seeing all of that. She sees how desires are there, how that is influencing people, so she's seeing all of these things. So she's seeing everything that is manifested in this world, which is all of these things, and she also sees everything that's unmanifested, something which you cannot feel, or you cannot experience all of this. But net Bhattacharya says, Dadrishe kimna tada. He says there's anything that Yashoda did not see. So everything that is there to be seen physically and also experienced, Yashoda ends up seeing in this. So that's what essentially the Virat form of the Lord, which is everything encompassed in the one Bhagavan. That's that entire form she's seeing with all of these things inside the mouth of Krishna. So Kuhachit Vanam Ambudhi, you can break at that ma. Kuhachit Vanam Ambudih Kvachite, comma, Kvachidabram Kuhachidrasatalam. So it's Kuhachit Rasatalam, but you can say it together. Kuhachidrasatalam Manuja Danuja Kvachit Suraha. You can add a visarga at the end of that word, Suraha, comma, Dadrishe Kim na tada tvadanane. Kuhachid vanamambudih kvachite kvachidabhram kuhachidrasatalam manuja danuja kvachit suraha dadrishe kim na tada tvadhanane.
कुहचित् कुहचिद्वनमम्बुधि क्वचित् क्वचिदभ्रं कुहचिद्रसातलम् मनुजादनुजा क्वचित् सुराः ददृशे किं न तदा त्वदानने कुहचिद्वनमम्बुधि क्वचित् क्वचिदभ्रं क्वचिदभ्रं कुहचिद्रसातलम् मनुजादनुजा क्वचित् सुराः ददृशे किं न तदा त्वदानने
गुहचिद्वनमम्बुधि क्वचित् क्वचिदभ्रं कुहचिद्रसातलं मनुजातनुजा क्वचिच्चुराः तदृशे किं न तथा त्वदानने गुहचिद्वनमम्बुधि क्वचित् क्वचिदभ्रं गुहचिद्रसातलं मनुजातनुजा क्वचित्सुराः तदृशे किं न तथा त्वदानने.
We'll switch halfway. Shashi, you can be a student, and Radha, you can be a student. 8. कलशाम्भुदिशाहिनं पुनः परवैकुण्ठपदादिवासिनं स्वपुरश्च निजार्भकात्मकं कतिधा त्वां न ददर्श सामुखे. So in the previous stanza, she saw everything that is inside the Brahmandam for existence to happen, which is physical things plus all the conceptual things which are required for existence. So now she's seeing what is outside the Brahmandam, which Brahma saw in Dasakam 7, stanza 8, where we said Kalam, Bodha, Kalaya, Komaruchi, that stanza. So that's what she's seeing. So now Yashoda is seeing what is there in Vaikuntham. So in that, she's seeing the Supreme Mahalord Mahavishnu lying on Adishesha. He's seeing him to be in a dark blue complexion, like a blue-gray complexion, like a rain-bearing cloud. He's wearing a pitambaram. He has a very smiling face, He has Ashtabhahu. He has 8 arms. And then he has the Kaustuba gem. He has the Srivatsa mark. He has a garland of flowers. He has all these attendants who are actually around him, surrounding him. So with this, so not only was she able to see what is inside the Brahmandam, she's seeing what is there in Vaikuntham itself, right? Something beyond which you cannot normally see, but Yashoda is getting to actually see that. So, but Tripat again says, Krishna, in what all ways did you not show yourself to Yashoda? Because everything which is there in this world is the Lord himself. So you showed her all of that, plus you also showed her the original form, which is actually there in Vaikuntham as well. So, Kalashambhudi Shayinam Punaha, Para Vaikuntha Padadhi Vasinam, Swapurascha Nijar Bhakatmakam, Katidha Twam Na Dadarsha Sa Mukhe. कलशाम्भुदिशायिनं पुनः परवैकुण्ठपदादिवासिनं स्वपुरश्च निजार्भकात्मकं कतिधा त्वां न ददर्श सामुखे. Shashi,
You said Sashi, not Sashireka, right?
no, Rajamani. Shashi R, sorry.
Thank you.
कलशाम्बुदीशयीनं पुनः परवैकुण्ठपदादिवासिनं स्वपुरश्च निजार्भकात्मकं कतिधा त्वां न ददर्श सामुखे कलशाम्बुदीशयीनं पुनः शायिनं पुनः परवैकुण्ठपदादिवासिनं स्वपुरश्च निजार्भकात्मकं कतिधा त्वां न ददर्श सामुखे
कलशाम्बुदिशायिनं पुनः परवैकुण्ठपदादिवासिनं स्वपुरश्च निजार्भकात्मकं कतिधा त्वां न ददर्श सामुखे कलशाम्बुदिशायिनं पुनः परवैकुण्ठपदादिवासिनं स्वपुरश्च निजार्भकात्मकं कतिधा त्वां न ददर्श सामुखे.
Answer 9. विकसद् भुवने मुखोदरे ननु भूयोऽपि तथा विधाननः अनया स्फुटमीक्षितो भवान् अनवस्थां जगतां बतातनोत्. So just in the cavity of Krishna's mouth, Yashoda sees all the worlds. She sees everything. She sees the Brahmandam. She sees the Vaikuntham. She sees everything, and all of this without having to put any effort. Right? Just imagine how hard it is. All these sages do so much penance. They do so many tapasya, and it's very difficult for them to see what is happening or even understand the concept of creation. But Yashoda was just able to just see it very easily, right? She just tells Krishna to open his mouth, and then she gets to see everything like we see on TV, right? So that this is where, Parikshit asked Shukra Brahman that what is it that Yashoda has done? What is the tapas that Yashoda has done that she's able to get access to all of this, right? So that's when he tells the story of the Drona and Dhara and how they have done the penance and how Yashoda then gets Krishna and all that stuff. Anyway, so all of that Yashoda is seeing. Now, not only is Yashoda seeing all of this, but inside that she can zoom in and she can see not only Vaikuntham, she's also able to see Vrinda, the Gokulam. And in that Gokulam, she's seeing a Yashoda who's peeping into Krishna's mouth. And inside that Krishna's mouth, she's seeing the entire world. And this thing keeps on going, right? When you kind of go to, the Navy Pier and you go stand in that infinite mirrors, right? You keep seeing a reflection of yours like 100 times, right? So that's what Yashoda is seeing. She's seeing all this just inside, just keeps on going. There never seems to be an end to any of these things, right? So she's really getting amazed as to how is it possible all of this is inside Krishna's mouth, but me and Krishna are also inside Krishna's mouth. Inside that Krishna's mouth just keeps on going, right? So she's just beginning to wonder what it is. She realizes for a very small second anyways, but this is what she's beginning to think through. So vikasat bhuvane mukhodare, nanu bhuyopi tatha vidhananah anaya sphutam ikshito bhavan. So that na that is there, you put a in and a break, bhavan, next word starts with a. Anavastham jagatam batatanot. Vikasad bhuvane mukhodare nanu bhuyopi tata vidhananah anaya sphutamikshito bhavan anavastham jagatam batatanot.
विकसद्भुवने मुखोदरे ननु भूयोऽपि तथा विधाननः अनया स्फुटम् ईक्षितो भवान् अनवस्थां जगतां बतातनोत्. विकसद्भुवने मुखोदरे ननु भूयोऽपि तथा विधाननः अनया स्फुटम् ईक्षितो भवान् अनवस्थां जगतां बतातनोत्.
विकसद्भुवने मुखोदरे ननु भूयोऽपि तथा विधाननः अनया स्फुटमीक्षितो भवान् अनवस्थां जगतां बतातनोत्. विकसद्भुवने मुखोदरे ननु भूयोऽपि तथा विधाननः अनया स्फुटमीक्षितो भवान् अनवस्थां जगतां बतातनोत्.
धृततद्वदीयं तथा क्षणं जननीं तां प्रणयेन मोहयन् स्तनमम्बदिशेत्युपासजन् भगवन्नद्भुतबाल पाहि माम्. So when Yashoda sees all this, again, she sees it for a very, very fraction of a second. All of this just goes in a flash, right? So first, she's actually getting very nervous about it because she says, how is it that all of these things are inside my son's mouth, right? Because it's still her small child, right? Her own baby. So she was then beginning to be, first of all, she begins to wonder, and she's also very fearful of how this is. And then she begins to wonder, is this like some dream I'm experiencing, or is this some other, some influence, some external influence because of which I'm able to see all this? And then she realizes that, okay, I'm not dreaming because my eyes are open. I'm able to experience all of these things. And then, but also the important thing is, when you see all this and you understand all this, you realize the supreme truth, right? That there is one Brahman and he is that Brahman is what's there in everything. So she understands that supreme knowledge and she realizes that it's me who has just taken birth as Yashoda and my husband is just taken birth as Nanda and Krishna is the supreme Lord who has just taken incarnated as my son. And all of this is an illusion because which is all there. She gets the supreme knowledge. And as she was just understanding that supreme knowledge and as she was beginning to realize it, Krishna suddenly calls out and says, Mother, I need milk. Right? So you think of it like you are in your dream, you are just beginning to understand everything. Suddenly your alarm rings and you wake up. And all of a sudden, in a flash, you forget everything that you saw in your dream and you come back to reality. That's what happens to Yashoda. So in a fraction of a second, she sees all of these things. She comes to realize the supreme truth. She realizes how all of this is there, and Krishna is a supreme Brahman who has taken birth. But that cannot continue, right? Because the whole purpose of her birth is to be Krishna's mother. She can't just know the truth, then she cannot be Krishna's mother, right? That parental love will go away. So in a fraction of a second, when Krishna then asks, saying, I need to drink your breast milk, at that time, Yashoda suddenly comes back to reality and she forgets everything that she saw, she experienced. And then with her own affection, like a mother, she lifts up Krishna and says, yeah, there's no mud in your mouth. Let me give you a milk, right? And then she lifts Krishna. And that's how this thing comes to an end. She says, oh, Adbhuta Bhalaka, what a wonderful child, Krishna. You've taken all this just to give maternal bliss to Yashoda. Please eradicate all of my ailments also. Dhrita Tattva Dhiyam Tadakshanam, comma. Jananim tam pranayena mohayan stanamamba dishetyupasajan, comma, bhagavannadbhuta bhala pahimam. There's double na there. It's Bhagavan adbhuta, but then the in and a becomes double na. That's why it's there. धृततद्वदीयं तदाक्षणं जननीं तां प्रणयेन मोहयन् स्तनमम्बदिशेत्युपासजन् भगवन्नद्भुतबाल पाहि माम्.
धृततत्त्वदीयं तदाक्षणं जननीं तां प्रणयेन मोहयन् स्तनमम्बदिशेत्युपासजन् भगवन्नद्भुतबाल पाहि माम्. धृततत्त्वदीयं तदाक्षणं जननीं तां प्रणयेन मोहयन् स्तनमम्बदिशेत्युपासजन् भगवन्नद्भुतबाल पाहि माम्.
Shashi, you're saying that dhiyam, it's dhiyam, short d. So dhritatadvadhiyam.
धृततत्त्वदीयं
Yeah, just a
तदाक्षणं.
short d. That's it.
Okay.
धृततद्वदीयं तदाक्षणं जननीं तां प्रणयेन मोहयन् स्तनमम्बदिशेत्युपासजन् भगवन्नद्भुतबाल पाहि माम्. धृततद्वदीयं तदाक्षणं जननीं तां प्रणयेन मोहयन् स्तनमम्बदिशेत्युपासजन् भगवन्नद्भुतबाल पाहि माम्.
Shri Krishnaya Parabrahmane Namaha. We'll go to 47. 47 is Ulukala Bandhana Varnana. Ulukala is referring to the mortar, right, in which they crush the grains and all that. Bandhana Varnana is tying Krishna. So 47, 48 are two connected Dashakams, right? I was hoping
sorry to interrupt you. Rajesh, I need to leave because I'm taking Krishna from Akobalimat to Kansas City now. So I have to leave half an hour. So I'm sorry, I have to drop off.
No worries, Ravi. Have a safe trip. Yep.
Yeah, I'm going to Kansas right now, so I'll be back next week. Next week I'll be here.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. Yeah.
So Ulukala Bandhana Varnanam is tying Krishna to the mortar. So the 47 and 48 is also kind of connected stories. Now I was going to finish 47 today, but doesn't look like, so we'll just do a few stanzas. Stanza 1. Ekada dhati bimathakarinhim matarham samupasedhivan bhavan stanyalolupataya nivarayan ankametya papivan payodharo. So after that incident, right now we're fast forwarding. So, this the Braj Bhumi, the place in the Gokulam, it's all about cows and milk products, right? That's all they do. So they get milk from the cows. From the milk, they make ghee, or from the buttermilk, they extract butter, and all of that stuff, right? So that's all they do. So one day, right, when Yashoda, of course, they were the kind of the primary owners of that area, right? Yashoda and Nandagopal. So because all the servants were busy with other things, Yashoda personally decided to churn butter. So she was the one who was actually churning the butter that one day. And of course, when she was, but no, like the entire Gokulam, Yashoda was no different, right? No matter what activities they were doing, they were always thinking about all the activities of Krishna when they were doing their activities, which is what even Yashoda was doing. Yashoda was no different. She was constantly thinking about what Krishna does, all the activities of Krishna, and she was just thinking about it as she was churning her butter. And as she was doing it, that was the time Krishna then suddenly felt hungry. So he then, like any child does, right? He approaches his mother. He doesn't care what the mother is doing. For him, the priority is, I'm hungry right now, right? What you're doing is not a priority. So Krishna then comes and tells, you need to feed me right now. So Yashoda says, okay. And then so Yashoda puts Krishna on her lap. Krishna then starts drinking milk, but Yashoda then continues to churn, right? So she's continuing to churn the butter. So ekada dhadi vimatha karineem, mataram samupasedivan bhavan stanya lolu pataya nivarayan. So you'll have double na there. So first put a in, nivarayan, Next word starts with a a. Ankametya papivan payodharo. Ekada dhadi vimathakarinhim mataram samupasedhivan bhavan stanyalolu pataya nivarayan ankametya papivan payodharo.
एकदा दधिविमातकारिणीं मातरं समुपसेदिवान् भवान् स्तन्यलोलुपतया निवारयन् अङ्कमेत्य पपिवान् पयोदरौ एकदा दधिविमातकारिणीं मातरं समुपसेदिवान् भवान् स्तन्यलोलुपतया निवारयन् अङ्कमेत्य पपिवान् पयोदरौ
एकदा दधिविमातकारिणीं मातरं समुपसेदिवान् भवान् स्तन्यलोलुपतया निवारयन् अङ्कमेत्य पपिवान् पयोधरौ एकदा दधिविमातकारिणीं मातरं समुपसेदिवान् भवान् स्तन्यलोलुपतया निवारयन् अङ्कमेत्य पपिवान् पयोधरौ.
Answer 2. अर्धपीतकुचकुड्मले त्वहि स्निग्धहासमधुराननाम्भुजे दुग्धमीशदहने परिसृतं धर्तुमाशु जननी जगामते. So Krishna had just started drinking milk because he came very hungry. He was playing and came back very hungry, so he really wanted to drink. And he had just started drinking milk, and then there was a smile that came to his face because he was now beginning to drink milk. And as Yashoda was, churning the butter, she suddenly realized that she had kept some milk in the kitchen, and she could hear that milk boiling over. So she suddenly realized, oh my God, this milk I kept in the kitchen, I completely forgot about it. And that milk is now going to spill all over. So what she does is she just tells Krishna, wait for a minute. She stops her churning. She puts Krishna down, and then she starts rushing towards the kitchen because, because that's priority for her, because she doesn't want the milk to boil over. So Ardha Pita Kucha Kudmale Tvayi, Snigdha Hasa Madurananam Bhuje Dugdamisha Dahane Parisrutam, Dhartumashu Janani Jagamate. Ardhapita Kucha Kudmale Twahi Snigdahasa Madhurananam Bhuje Dugdamisha Dahane Parisrutam Dhartumashu Janani Jagamate.
अर्धपीठकुचकुड्मले त्वयि स्निग्धहासमधुराननाम्बुजे दुग्धमीशदहने परिश्रुतं दर्दुमाशु जननी जगामते अर्धपीठकुचकुड्मले त्वयि स्निग्धहासमधुराननाम्बुजे दुग्धमीशदहने परिश्रुतं दर्दुमाशु जननी जगामते
अर्धपीतकुचकुड्मले त्वयि स्निग्धहासमधुराननाम्बुजे दुग्धमीशदहने परिश्रुतं धर्तुमाशु जननी जगामते अर्धपीतकुचकुड्मले त्वयि स्निग्धहासमधुराननाम्बुजे दुग्धमीशदहने परिश्रुतं दत्तुमाशु जननी जगामते.
Sanskrit. साहिपीतरसभङ्गसङ्गतक्रोधभारपरिभूतचेतसा मन्तदण्डमुपगृह्य पाटितं हन्तदेवदधिभाजनं त्वया. So what Yashoda did was right, she went to take care of the milk. But even for a small child, you give it something and then you take it back, it starts crying. A hungry child who just came for milk and he had just started drinking milk and began to feel happy, and suddenly Yashoda kept him down. So Krishna was then getting very angry, right? And his face becomes red, and then he starts biting his teeth and he said, what, I'm so upset about this. And what he does, so here's a slight difference, right? In Bhagavatam, it says, Krishna, you take a stone that is lying nearby, and then you take that stone and then you throw it on that container where the butter is there, where she's churning. Narayaneeyam Dasakam says you take the churning rod, and then you take the rod and then you hit on that pot of butter which is there, right? Doesn't matter. So in Jayarama Sharmana, if you know that he was a great Narayaneeyam, commentator, he used to give a lot of upanyasams on Narayaneeyam. So he said that when Bhattadripat wrote this, and he said that Krishna took that churning rod and bet into that thing, suddenly he realized, hold on, Bhagavatam says he threw a stone, but I ended up writing that he's throwing a rod. So what is correct? So then he then begins to get upset because he doesn't want to say something that is wrong. So it's Jayarama Sharma says that when Bhattadripat is closing his eyes and wondering, Krishna, what is the truth? Did you throw a stone or did you actually use the churning rod? So in the sense, Krishna says, whatever I did, when Vyasa and Shukabhrahmam saw, it looked like a stone to them. When you look from your angle, it looks like a stick. So he says both are correct. You don't have to change what you wrote, right? So anyway, here Krishna takes a stone or a stick. It doesn't matter. He took one of those and then he throws it on the churning pot, and then the entire butter, the pot breaks open. So Sami Pita Rasa Bhanga Sangata, put a plus, Krodha Bhara Paribhuta Chetasa, Manta Dandam Upagrihya Patitam, Hanta Deva Dhadi Bhajanam Tvaya. Samipita Rasa Bhanga Sangata Krodha Bhara Paribhuta Chetasa, Manta Dandam Upagrihya Patitam, Hanta Deva Dhadi Bhajanam Tvaya.
सामीपीठरसभङ्गसङ्गतक्रोधभारपरिभूतचेतसा मन्तदन्तमुपगृह्य पातितं हन्त देवदादिभजा भाजनं त्वया
Last time, Dhadi
Yeah.
Bhajanam.
भाजनं त्वया सामीपीठरसभङ्गसङ्गतक्रोधभारपरिभूतचेतसा मन्तदण्डमुपगृह्य पातितं हन्तदेवदादिभाजनं त्वया.
You are saying Dhadi, it's Dhadi. Dhadi Bhajanam.
Okay. दधिभाजनं त्वया.
सामीपीतरसभङ्गसङ्गत क्रोधभारपरिभूतचेतसा मन्थदण्डमुपगृह्य पाटितं हन्तदेव दधिभाजनं त्वया. सामीपीतरसभङ्गसङ्गत क्रोधभारपरिभूतचेतसा मन्थदण्डमुपगृह्य पाटितं हन्तदेव दधिभाजनं त्वया.
Answer 4. उच्चलध्वनितमुच्चकैस्तथा सन्निशम्य जननी समाधृता त्वद्यशो विसरवद्ददर्शसा सद्य एव दधि विस्तृतं क्षितौ. So Yashoda, who then went to take the milk, after she takes the milk out of the stove, and then she hears this loud noise of something breaking, and she realizes that she left her baby alone with that pot of butter or pot of curd or buttermilk. So she rushes there, and she sees that the pot is broken, and the pot is broken, and the stick is lying there, and then the entire thing has spilled on the floor. So it was natural for her to assume that this is only possible that this, and Krishna was missing from there. So it was natural. She thought, you know what, this boy has broken this thing. And, and Bhattacharya says that just like how Krishna, your fame, like how the entire universe, your fame spread, similar like the dark floor, all the curd or buttermilk was actually completely lying on the floor, and Yashoda gets very upset right now. So, Uchalad Dhvanitam Uchakais. You can break at that ma. Uchalad Dhvanitam Uchakais tada, comma. San Nishamya Janani Samadruta. Twadya Shovisara Vad Dadarsha. So, double the Vad Dadarsha sa, comma. Sadya eva dhadi vistritam kshitau. So, Shashi, I'll just say one time. I want to at least finish till 8 today, if possible.
Okay.
Uchchala dhvanitam uchchakaistadha sannishamya janani samadruta tvadyasho visaravaddadarsha sadya eva dhadi vistritam kshitau.
Uchala कैस्तदा सन्निशम्य जननी समाधृता त्वद्यशो विशरवद्ददार्शशां सद्य एव दधि विस्तृतं क्षितौ.
One time, Shashi, one time.
Yeah. Okay.
उच्चलध्वनितमुच्चैस्तदा संनिशम्य जननी समाधृता त्वद्यशो विसरद्ददर्शसा सद्य एव दधि विस्तृतं क्षितौ.
That's right. वेदमार्गपरिमार्गितं रुषा त्वामवीक्ष्य परिमार्गयन्त्यसौ सन्ददर्श सुकृतिन्युलूखले दीयमाननवनीतमोतवे. So then Yashoda knew Krishna had broken it. So then Yashoda starts looking for Krishna. And here Bhattacharya says, Veda Marga Parimargitam. All these yogis who, try to do all these Vedas, who try to do all this meditation, they all go looking after Krishna, but after all these austerities and penances, and they are unable to locate where Krishna is. They can never get control of Krishna. However, Yashoda feels that she can catch Krishna. So she then goes around running. But the problem for Krishna is when the ghee or the buttermilk spilled, he walked over that. So because of that, his footprints was there everywhere. So Yashoda was very easily able to trace it and find out where Krishna was hiding. So Yashoda follows that. So at that time, what Krishna had done is he had gone to one storage area where they have this mortar, which is where they crush all the grains and things are also stored there. So he was sitting on that mortar, and then he had butter in his hand, and he was eating butter, he was also giving butter to the cat. Ulukhale Otave is a cat. So the cat and the monkeys which are actually there, he was also sharing the butter with them. So Yashoda, she keeps following the footpath of Krishna, and finally she gets there, and this is what she sees, that Krishna is hiding there and he's eating butter and sharing it with all the cats and the monkeys. So Veda Marga Parimargitam Rusha, comma, Twama Vikshya Parimarga Yantyasau Sandadarsha Sukrutin Yulukale, comma, Diyamana Navanitam Otave. Vedamarga Parimargitam Rusha Twama Vikshya Parimarga Yantyasau Sandadarsha Sukrutin Yulukale दीयमान नवनीतमोतवे
वेदमार्गपरिमार्गितं वृषा त्वामवीक्ष्य परिमार्गयन्त्यसौ सन्ददर्श सुकृतिं युलुखले दीयमाननवनीतमोतवे
वेदमार्गपरिमार्गितं वृषा त्वामवीक्ष्य परिमार्गयन्त्यसौ सन्ददर्श सुकृतीन्यलूलुखले दीयमाननवनीतमोतवे
त्वां प्रगृह्य बत भीतिभावना भासुरानन सरोजमाशु सा रोषरूषितमुखी सखी पुरो बन्धनाय रशनामुपादधे. So when Krishna sees that Yashoda is now come there, so he starts running. So naturally, Yashoda also starts chasing, but there's a difference in age, right? Krishna is like a 2 or 3 year old boy. Yashoda, she's running behind him. She's beginning to get tired. Her hair becomes loose. It says the flowers all start falling, and she's not able to keep up with Krishna. So finally, Krishna decides, what? I can't let my mother run so much, so I'll slow down, right? So he stops, saying, okay, now you catch me, right? So when she catches at the time, because Yashoda now catches Krishna, he then starts to cry. Or because most kids, they pretend to cry, which is what Krishna does, right? So suddenly tears start coming, and all this, the eyeliner, the kajal, and everything Krishna has, it's all getting mixed, and he begins to start crying because he knows he's caught right now. So at the time, it says everybody, even the greatest of gods, are all under the control of Krishna. Even Brahma, right? He has Vipararda, his life comes to an end. But somehow Krishna is afraid, acts as if he's afraid of Yashoda. So he then pauses, right? So when he pauses and he starts crying, Yashoda is now overwhelmed with love, because anytime a child cries in the mother, then she feels very sorry about it. But at the same time, she sees what Krishna has done, where he's broken all this curd and all this stuff. He's created a mess there, and she also had things to do. She decides that, what, I'm just done with you, right? I cannot keep up with all the things that you're doing. This is just too much. How many times I have to warn you, and you keep repeating all these things? And he says, I need to give you a timeout, which is essentially what Yashoda is doing. She says, I need to make you sit in one place quietly for a while. So what she does is she then goes and decides to tie him to the mortar, because that's where Krishna was when she found him. So Tvam pragrihya bata bhiti bhavana, put a plus, bhasuranana sarojamashusa rosha rushita mukhi sakhi puro, comma, bandhanaya rashanam upadade. त्वां प्रगृह्य बत भीति भावना भासुरानन सरोजमाशु सा रोषरूषितमुखी सखी पुरो बन्धनाय रशनामुपाददे.
त्वां प्रगृह्य बत भीतिभावना भासुरानन सरोजमाशुषा रोषरूषितमुखी सखी पुरो बन्दनाय रशनामुपाददे
त्वां प्रगृह्य बत भीतिभावना भासुरानन सरोजमाशुषा रोषरूषितमुखी सखी पुरो बन्धनाय रशनामुपाददे.
Answer 7. बन्धुमिच्छति यमेव सज्जनस्तम्भवन्तमयि बन्धुमिच्छति सा नियुज्य रशना गुणान् बहून् द्व्यङ्गुलो नमखिलं किलैक्षत. So that Supreme Brahman, who is now appeared as a child, Yashoda decides that I am not going to let you move, right? I'm going to now tie you to a mortar, so that you'll be sitting quietly in one place for a while, so that Yashoda can do that. So all her friends are there. Yashoda says, Krishna, I'm going to tie you in here. But Tripat says, you, Krishna, who ties everybody in love and affection, how can Yashoda even think of tying you to a mortar? How does it even come in her heart? That's because she was frustrated with Krishna, right? So then she decides to then take Krishna to the mortar, and then she takes a rope, and then she now makes him stand, and then she tries, because the mortar, it's got like a shape where it comes down, tapers, and then goes beyond, right? So she decides to tie him around that point, and she sees that dvi anguli means 2 fingers. So the rope is short by distance of 2 fingers. So Krishna has already shown, his unlimited potency with, Putana, with Sakatasura, Trinavarta, and then of course he showed Yashoda, the universe itself. He says, you know what, Mother Yashoda, unless I agree to be bound, you cannot bind me, right? So when she tries, she's falling short by 2 fingers. So now she tries different ropes which are there. Every rope she picks, no matter how much she tries, it always falls short by 2 fingers. So then she's really beginning to get concerned, like, what is happening here? So she brings another rope, she ties the ropes together. And then now, because the length will go up, and then she again tries to tie it. Again, when she ties it, again falls short by 2 fingers. So it's always going to be falling short, by 2 finger length or 2 finger width every single time when Yashoda tries to bind Krishna here. So bandhum ichhati yameva sajjanas, put a plus, tam bhavantamayi bandhum ichhati. So this is a long E. First ichhati is a short T. This ichhati is a long T. Sa niyujya rashana gunan bahun, comma, Dvyangulonam akhilam khilaikshata. So let's remove the word dvi angulam, but becomes dvyangulam. Bandhumichhati yameva sajjanastam bhavantamai bandhumichhati. Saniyujya rashana gunan bahun dvyangulonam akhilam khilaikshata.
Bandhumichhati yameva sajjanastam bhavan sajjanas.
It's very easy to break. The is that half point. So if you break it at that point, it will land.
Okay. Bandhumichhati yameva sajjanastam bhavantamayi bandhumichhati saniyujya rashana gunan bahun vyangulo namakhilam kilaikshata.
Rajesh Garu, quick question. The second line, is it stum or thumb?
Which sajjanas tam
Okay.
bhavantamai.
Thumb?
Yeah, tam bhavantamai.
The star becomes star, right?
No, the is there, right? There is the is sajjanas. If you do you have a is there? Sajjanas.
Sajjanas tam bhavanti.
Yeah, tam bhavantamai.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Sorry.
Yeah.
Bandhumichhati yameva sajjanas tam bhavantamayi bandhumichhati sanyujya rashana gunan bahun vyangulo namakilam kilaikshata.
We'll do one more stanza. Maybe we'll run a couple minutes over today.
Rajesh,
Sorry, the question?
the first line, when you say bhavant and then tamayi or bhavantamayi.
Bhavantam ai.
Thank you.
Okay, if you want to break it, that's a ma. Vismitotsmita sakhi janekshitam swinna sanna vapusham nirikshatam nityamukta vapurapyaho hare bandhameva kripayanva manyataha. So when Mother Yashoda tries all the ropes available, she ties the ropes together. No matter what she does to try, she was always falling short of the 2 finger width. So all the Gopikas are also standing there right now. And they are all enjoying the fun, right? Because it's like, oh no, Yashoda, no, why are you struggling to tie Krishna? Why is it so hard, right? And they're all kind of standing there and laughing at Krishna. And Yashoda also is trying very hard, and she was also wondering why is it happening, and she was feeling very embarrassed because all her friends are standing there and laughing at her. And because of this, Yashoda, she starts sweating, and she's becoming very tired. So Krishna says, Bhattacharya says, you are always free, Krishna. You are nitya mukta vapuhu. Your body is always free. Now, until and unless you wish, it's not going to happen. And like we saw in Ambarisha Charitram as well, when Durvasa was chasing Ambarisha, Sudarshana Chakra chased Durvasa. Then when he went to Narayana, he says, Proche Bhavan Hamrishe Nanu Bhakta Dasaha. At the end of the day, I'm a servant to my devotees. So nothing can be bound, nothing can bind me except my devotees. So when he sees that Yashoda was profusely sweating and then she was struggling very hard, Krishna says, okay, Yashoda, I'm not going to make you struggle so much, because at the end of the day, you have so much love for me. How can I not surrender to you? Right? So finally, Krishna agrees to be bound. So the moment Krishna then agrees to one, all of a sudden, Yashoda is able to tie it together. And then the ropes then get tied around Krishna's waist. And then, finally, Yashoda is also relieved. She's saying, okay, finally, I'm able to get this boy stuck in one place and he won't move now. So, Vismitotsmita Sakhi Janikshitam, comma, Swinna Sanna Vapusham Nirikshetam, Nitya Mukta Vapurapyaho Hare, comma, Bandameva Kripayanva Manyathaha. Vismitotस्मितसखी जनेक्षितां स्विन्नसन्नवपुषं निरीक्ष्यतां नित्यमुक्तवपुरप्यहो हरे बन्धमेव कृपयान्वमन्यथाः. Vismitotस्mita. It's it there.
Okay. Vismitotस्mita sakhi janikshitam Svinna sanna vapusham nirikshyatam Nityamukta vapurapayo hare Bandameva kripayan vamanyatha.
Manyataha.
Okay.
And then the first and the third line or second line is Nitya Mukta Vapurapyaho.
Nityamukta vapurapyaho hare bandameva kripayan vamanyathaha.
Vismitotस्मित सखी जनेक्षितां स्विन्नस्वन्नवपुषं निरीक्ष्यतां नित्यमुक्तवपुरप्यहो हरे बन्धुमेव कृपयान्वमन्यताः. बन्धमेव कृपयान्वमन्यताः.
Shri Krishnaya Parabrahmane Namaha. Sandhanandhavabodhatmakamanupamitam kaladeshavadibhyam nirmuktam nityamuktam nigamashatasahasrena nirbhasyamanam aspashtam drishtamatre punarurupurusharthatmakam brahmatattvam tattavadbhati sakshat gurupavanapure hanta bhagyam jananam काहेन वाचा मनसेन्द्रियैर्वा बुद्ध्यात्मना वा प्रकृते स्वभावात् करोमि यद्यत् सकलं परस्मै नारायणायेति समर्पयामि. Thank you, everyone. We ran a few minutes over, but I didn't want to cut short. So,
Thank you.
Thank
bye.
you, Harish.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.